कमलवरे नखमकुत श्रृंगाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगा केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमलवरे नखमद्भुत श्रृंगाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगा केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंह देव नरसिंह देव नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय नरसिंह महोत्सव नरसिंह महोत्सव नरसिंह महोत्सव जय जय नरसिंह महोत्सव जय जय निताय गौरा निताय गौरा निताय गौरा जय जय निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल। श्री श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। समस्त गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री निताय गौरा हरि प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। नरसिम्हा चतुर्दशी महोत्सव की जय। प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। थैंक यू। हरे कृष्णा एवरीवन। धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
जय हरि बोल। थैंक यू सो मच वंदना माता जी। हरे कृष्णा पूर्ण नंदिनी माता जी।
हरे कृष्णा माता जी।
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, pranam. We welcome you to ICF Forum. Today is Shrimad Bhagwatam Katha. So Mata ji, over to you.
Thank you Mata ji. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Brajajana Randana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Mahayagna ki jai, Tagore Sitanath Paramanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yekripatam aham vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Suma Mataji, you're sharing this screen, Mataji.
You need Mataji screen sharing?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. I'll share, Mataji.
Because
Yeah.
that was the message that I saw.
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
Okay,
Mataji. I was not able to unmute. That's why. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
I'll share.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Dandavat Pranams, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, welcoming all of you to this daily Shrimad Bhagwatam class. And we are in the second canto, chapter 6, which is called as Purusha Sukta Confirmed. So this is an opportunity, seva opportunity from very merciful souls for such an undeserving opportunity, because I really don't have any qualifications, but as a purification for myself and as a seva to the Guru Parampara, I've taken up this. So let's try to understand a few things. We are going to read from Shloka, or trying to understand from Shloka 12 to Shloka 17 of chapter 6, canto 2, Shrimad Bhagwatam, Purusha Sukta Confirmed. So yeah, I have already Divya Gopu Mataji and few others. Yeah, it would be nice to have devotees participate and read, because it is very purifying. It is really very purifying. Even one word of chanting the Shrimad Bhagwatam shloka is very purifying and very progressive for our spiritual journey. So please take this opportunity and read. Hare Krishna. Somebody is on unmute. Yeah, okay. Before we go into this, I would just like to say two things about the Purusha Sukta. I mean, like, it's a number of verses, but then the main thing, it goes like this. Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad Swabhumin Vishwato Vishwa Atyadishta Dashangulam Purusha Evegadam Sarvam Et Bhucham Et Bhavyam Et Dustana Sheshaha. So, Purusha Sukta, Su Ukta. This is from the Rig Veda. Su means very auspicious, and Ukta is to have said, to say. Now, this is spoken by the Devatas or the demigods to satisfy Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Whenever they want any benedictions or any help from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, they say these prayers, and it is from the Rig Veda. Now, before we go to the 12th shloka, I would like request Suma Mataji to share from shloka 1. We are just going to quickly read the translations from shloka 1 to 11, and then we are going to talk about from the shloka 12. Okay, just the translations from 1 to 11. Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, you want me to share from 1, Mataji?
Yes, yes, from shloka 1.
Mataji, click on the cosmic manifestation. All the translations will come.
The Canto 2 hyperlink here.
Ha,
I'm
can
new
you
to
the
this,
cosmic?
Mataji. That's why I'm struggling, Mataji. I'm very sorry.
No, it's okay, Mataji.
You need to click on chapter 6, Mataji. Then it will come specific to this chapter.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
2.6.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Mataji, you can just say 2.6. SB 2.6 and you will get.
2.6, Mataji.
Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
SB space 2.6.
Krishna.
And remove that Shrimad Bhagwatam there. You can say Veda base. Veda base SB space 2.6. Veda base space. Space. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, okay.
In this, on the up side, you see chapter 6. Just click on chapter 6, Mataji. On the upper, that red hyperlink is there.
I didn't
Okay.
get you, Mataji. Where,
About
Mataji?
2.6.1. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There. Yeah, that chapter 6 is written CHAPTERSIX. Click on that, Mataji.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. We shall continue. Yeah. Probably you can chat individually to help Mataji. Mataji,
Mataji, I will share the screen for this one. This is done, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah. Prashanti Mataji, please read shloka 1. The
Hare
translation.
Krishna, Hare
Yeah.
Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna.
Text 1, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of people. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Sudha Mataji, text 2.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. His two nostrils are the generating centers of our breathing and of all other airs. His smelling parts generate the Ashwini Kumara demigods and all kinds of medicinal herbs, and his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Suma Mataji, text 3.
Hare Krishna. His eyes are the generating centers of all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and are receptacles for all the Vedas, and his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Text 4. Vandana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna everyone, Dandavat Pranam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. His bodily surface is the breeding ground for the active principles of everything and for all kinds of auspicious opportunities. His skin, like the moving air, is the generating center for all kinds of sense of touch and is the place for performing all kinds of sacrifice. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maumita Mataji, next
Hare
one.
Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation. particularly of those trees which are required as ingredients for sacrifice. The hairs on his head and face are reservoirs for the clouds, and his nails are the breeding ground of electricity, stones, and iron ores. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Padma Mataji, text 6. Sarika Mataji, text 6.
Hare Krishna Mataji. The Lord's arms are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Padma Mataji, text 7.
Yes. Thus, the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter of the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection from all kinds of fear. Thank you.
Shanti Mataji, text 8.
Hare Krishna Mataji. From the Lord's genital originate water, semen, generatives, rains, and the procreators. His genital are the cause of a pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting. Hare Krishna.
Text 9. Shanti Mataji.
Mataji, just now I read Mataji.
Oh, sorry. Shilpa Mataji, text 9. Yeah, those who have read, kindly lower your hands so that I can see the other names. Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dalvat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Narada, the evacuating outlet of the universal form of the Lord, is the abode of the controlling deity of death, Mitra, and the evacuating hole, and the rectum of the Lord is the place of envy, misfortune, death, hell, etc. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, text 10. Meenakshi Mataji, next.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The back of the Lord is the place for, could you scroll Mataji? For all kinds of frustrations and ignorance, as well as for immortality. From his veins flow the great rivers and rivulets, and on his bones are stacked the great mountains. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, Rupali Mataji, text 11.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The impersonal feature of the Lord is the abode of meditation, and his belly is the resting place for the materially annihilated living entities. His heart is the abode of the substance material bodies of living beings. Thus it is known by the intelligent class of men. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Now, text 12, we will read the shloka. Shobha Mataji, can we share the screen for text 12? Shloka.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Mataji, 1 minute, please. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Dandavat. Shobha Mataji, just a second.
Suma Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yes, Mataji.
Mataji, just click on text 12.
Just
text 12.
Text 12. Click on the screen which is there. Please click on the text 12.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. Okay, ma'am. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes, Shobha Mataji, please read the
Hare
shloka.
Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Dharmasya mamadhubhyam cha kumaranam bhavasya cha vijnanasya cha sattvasya parasyatma parayanam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Divya Mataji. Divya Mataji, please read the translation.
Okay, Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Also, the consciousness of that great personality is the abode of religious principles, mine, yours, and those of the four bachelors, Sanak, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, and Sanandana. That consciousness is also the abode of truth and transcendental knowledge. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanyavad Pranam.
Okay, so we must be wondering what is the exercise that we did reading from Shloka 1 to 12. Now, if the translations that we saw from Shloka 1 to 11, right, there was nothing that was not covered, I mean, I'm saying in terms of the universe, in terms of functioning, in terms of what is there, everything is covered. What I'm trying to say is, who is actually the controller? I mean, who has created this everything, all this? Now that was Narad Muni's question to Lord Brahma in the previous chapter, Cause of All Causes. And then if we refer to Shloka 7.7 in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Matta Parataram Nanya Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya. He says, and then everything in this universe is dependent on me, like how the pearls are, strung on the thread. He's calling himself the thread. That means, actually that pearl necklace or this thing is visible, it can be wearable, everything because of the thread, but it is not visible. So that is the point that we have to understand here. Like, we are trying to control things, or we are trying to enjoy things, but then there is nothing beyond Krishna in the whole of the universe, okay, which is an expansion of the Virata Purusha. And the Virata Purusha itself is an expansion of expansion of expansion of expansion of expansion of Krishna, Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. Okay, so if we have to understand the supremacy of Krishna, right, that is where this Purusha Sukta confirmed is coming. Why it is being confirmed? Because we are Manda Buddhis. I mean, like, we don't get the point at once. So it has to be reiterated. Now, if we several times in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna is repeatedly saying that I am the controller. I may not, even though I am unseen, I am the controller. Okay. Now let's take one or two examples of how to inculcate this at every moment. Why at every moment? Because the moment we forget that Krishna is the controller, there are in our day-to-day life, or in our we come across so many situations where we may think that we are doing something. Ahankara Vimuda Atma. Okay, so now say, for example, we see a tree, right? If we see a tree, I mean, this is how I was kind of perceiving it, so I'm sharing this. If you see so many leaves in the trees, right? And then in each leaf, there are so many cells. Now, what is the meaning of Sarvamai? Then each cell, each leaf, each twig, each branch, each fruit, each flower, and all the cells in it, Krishna has pervading, is there as Paramatma, right? So that brings us to the point why we are not the controllers, why we cannot become the controllers, or why we cannot be the maintainers also. Because we are so minuscule, we are so small when we see the supremacy of Krishna. Right? And then also, we act, or we take decisions, or we try to be controllers based on the present scenario or the present situation that we are in. But Krishna, being the supreme controller, he knows the past, present, and future. And so, depending on him for giving us the intelligence to react to, or to cater to any situation, will help us to actually keep our life peaceful, right? So these shlokas that we read from 1 to 12, the translations of these shlokas, is to beat our false ego. What is the false ego? The false ego is that it starts from that I am this body, right? When I decide I am this body, then all my decisions will be based on the body. So, and aham mameti, this is mine, I am this, my husband, my father, my child, my house. Okay. Now all that goes away when we understand that I am not this body, but I am the soul. And what is the soul? The soul is Jivere Swarupo hai Krishner Nityadas. That I am the servant. And why I am the servant? Because I am why I am the servant? Because I am so small. I am Anu. He is Vibhu and I am Anu. So all these things, Purusha Sukta confirmed, or I can, just say reconfirming to us, keep us reminding that we have to be the servant of Krishna. We have to always be, under the shelter of the acharyas. Why the acharyas? Because the acharyas are under the shelter of Krishna. And then what happens, with our lives? Our lives are more in the track of, as a human being, the track of our lives is correctly on whichever track it has to be. Otherwise, we are struggling hard. See, in fact, if I have to just quickly recall the shlokas that we learned, we read. In fact, even for evacuation, right? Evacuation, there is a demigod who is a controlling deity. And then the demigods themselves are coming from Krishna. So something like, we don't have control over even, we may think it is something very simple, it's a daily activity. It's a daily activity. If we have no control over something like that, then what can we have control over? Okay. So Srila Prabhupada, in all these purports, in all his talks, is trying to hammer this into our heads that we have to surrender to Krishna. And then by surrendering to Krishna, we understand his supremacy, and then we can progress in our spiritual life. It doesn't stop at spiritual life. In fact, if you see, devotees are more, rather than to say successful in their material life, of course they are successful. They are more efficient in their material life also. Because at every juncture, they don't try to use their small intelligence. They try to take help from the supreme intelligence of Krishna. Right? So these translations, if we keep on rereading, gives us an idea how everything is expanded from Krishna, and then how, he is the controller of everything, and that how I have to be the servant of Krishna. So, and then, where there's a very nice, what the Acharyas tell about this material world. It is pure misery. Material world is pure misery and mixed happiness. Whereas in the spiritual world, it is pure happiness and there is no question of misery. That is why it is known as Vaikuntha. So that is what is this chapter all about, trying to tell us how Krishna is the supreme and how we have to accept his supremacy. Okay? So now next one, there are shlokas from 13 to 16. So 4 devotees can read each shloka, and then 1 devotee can read the translation. Can we go to the next one? Yeah, I don't see any hands raised. Yes.
I can do Mataji, Krishna.
Who's that, please? Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Deepa.
Yeah, Mataji, please read.
Aham bhavan bhavaschaiva ta ime munayo kraja surasura nara naga khagamriga sarishripa.
Yeah, Vandana
Can you scroll
Mataji.
down, Mataji?
Yeah, next one, Vandana Mataji will read the next shloka.
Hare Krishna Mataji, text 14, Srila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. Gandharvapsaraso yaksha raksho bhuta gano Ragaha Pashava Pitraha Siddha Vidyadharacharana Drumaha. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Divya Mataji, next text.
Yes, Mataji. Anye cha vivida jiva jalasthana nabhaukasha graharsha ketavastaras taditas tanayit navaha.
Sharmila Mataji, the next one.
Hare Krishna. Sarvam Purusha Evedam Bhutam Bhavyam Bhavachayat Tenedam Avritam Vishwam Vitastim Aditishtati. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Sudha Mataji, kindly read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Beginning from me, Brahma, down to you and Bhava, Shiva, all the great sages who were born before you, the demigods, the demons, the nagas, the human beings, the birds, the beasts, as well as the reptiles, etc., and all phenomenal manifestations of the universes, namely the planets, stars, asteroids, luminaries, lightning, thunder, and the inhabitants of the different planetary systems, namely the Gandharvas, Apsaras, Yakshas, Rakshas, Bhutaganas, Uragas, Pashus, Pitas, Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, and all other different varieties of living entities, including the birds, beasts, trees, and everything that be, are all covered by the universal form of the Lord at all times, namely past, present, and future, although he is transcendental to all of them, eternally existing in a form not exceeding 9 inches. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, just from 9 inches, the last line of the translation, it says, he is transcendental to all of them, eternally existing in a form of not exceeding 9 inches. And the first 2 lines of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his partial representation, measuring not more than 9 inches as super soul, expands by his potential energy in the shape of the universal form, which includes everything manifested in different varieties of organic and inorganic materials. So, just from 9 inches, what all we discussed in the previous shloka, up to the previous shloka, including the consciousness of all of us, which was the 12th shloka, which is mentioning. Just from 9 inches, Krishna expands, and then the whole world is functioning. In fact, all the material elements were there, at the beginning when the Mahatattva and then the material elements. But then it was all like matter, dull, inert matter. And only after the glance, just after the glance of Mahavishnu, the whole, the Chetana or the movement started. So that is how we are seeing the supremacy of Krishna here. Now, is it easy to imagine this aspect for us? It is indeed very difficult. That is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about at the end of the purport, about the Achintya, Bheda and Abheda Tattva. That is why the first word Chaitanya Mahaprabhu uses is Achintya. Right? Now, it is Achintya. Yes, it is Achintya because it is beyond our comprehension of this material intelligence or material mind or intelligence. But it will be comprehensible when the Lord wants us to understand it, when Lord gives us this intelligence to understand, right? So, and when does that happen? When I accept the supremacy of the Lord. Now, how do we understand this? Now, say we are at home or at office or any place, if we want to get some work done or we want to understand something from anybody, what do we do? either we go ask them humbly, or we request them, or we, message in whatever way. But the key note there is humility, right? If that person we are wanting the favor from, unless that person is convinced, they really want it, is one thing. The other thing is, they humble in their approach, that person would not share, right? There's so many times in the material world, even if we are humble, it is not shared, or, we don't get what. But Krishna is not like that. Even though he's supreme, he's supremely merciful also. So when he sees that we are accepting this aspect of his supremacy and we are surrendering, right? And then he gives us the intelligence to understand. What do we understand? That we don't understand anything. That is what Lord Brahma, where he meditated for hundreds of divine years, and when finally Krishna appeared, Krishna asked him, what did you understand? Lord Brahma says, I understood that I don't understand anything, is the reply Lord Brahma gives. So what is this Gnana Chakshu, or Gnana, this Adhyatmika, or the spiritual knowledge giving us, is that we don't understand anything by our own. If we have to understand, if we have to comprehend, then it has to come from Krishna, right? And then how does it come from Krishna? It comes from Sharanagati, from surrender. And how do we surrender? Usually, it's a human tendency. We tend to surrender to somebody who is supreme, or who is, above us. It's a general tendency, right? It's a human tendency that we, we try to look up to somebody who is, richer than us, more beautiful than us, or more intelligent than us. It is very difficult, or, it is not very easy for us to have the same kind of mood for somebody who is lower than us. It can be in any aspect, in money, or it can be in the aspect of intelligence, in the aspect of being famous, all this. So if that is the tendency, then why not surrender to the Supreme? So to surrender to the Supreme, we need to know, because unless we know, we will not surrender. Now, if I have to take, it's a very mundane example, but then still, even now, Amitabh Bachchan, if we say, it's still, a lot of people, it says, oh, wow, Amitabh Bachchan, because they know about him. They know how famous he is, with all his movies and his KBC and all that, they know how. So we have to know about Krishna. We have to know about his potencies. We have to know about his power. We have to know about his, how he has expanded. And after expanding, he is not even affected by it. Now, it makes so much sense to surrender to him rather than being surrendered to his potency. Like, we are all Maya Dasas instead of Krishna Dasa. So, but then it is just another small energy of Krishna. So if we can surrender to Maya, then we might as well be intelligent enough and surrender to Krishna. Because surrendering to Krishna is as, you're all surrendering to Maya also. So that surrendering comes when we know, when we read, when we hear about the supremacy of Krishna through the scriptures, through the acharyas, and through the pure devotees. And that is why, we have to keep reminding ourselves about this fact, a fact of the Krishna is supreme. Now, another aspect, if we have to keep reminding, I'm giving various examples so that, each of us connect with different things. Now, if we take the material world itself, okay, let's take the material world itself. Okay, it is said, Ananta Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, in each breath, so many universes are formed, right? Now, let's not even wonder so many universes, even in one single universe, right? Even in one single universe, if we can think of the number of living entities that are there, and each living entity, Krishna is expanded as soul, and then he knows that particular living entity, past, present, and future. Now, isn't that amazing? Isn't that supremely, wow feature? I mean, like, that is how, the present, wow. It is really, the supremacy is like, unimaginable. That is why it's Achintya. It is unimaginable supremacy of the Lord, right? And then, now I spoke of one universe, and that itself we are not able to comprehend. Forget one universe. If I was just listening to one video that was shared. It says each human, scientifically is kind of proved that there are 3 trillion cells in each human body. 3 trillion cells. Now, if each cell is living, each cell is working, if we are a biology student, or if we remember our school days, science, each cell, how each cell works, functions, that means that cell is living. So in that cell is living means Krishna, there is energy of Krishna working there. That means he is pervaded there also. So each person, 3 trillion cells. So imagine the number of living entities in each universe. And then Ananta Koti, innumerable universes, innumerable. And now we were talking of material world, which is only 1/3. And then you have innumerable Vaikuntha planets and all the living entities there. And Krishna knows about each and every living entity. So what this Purusha Sukta is confirming is how Krishna is expanded into all, in all the spiritual world, in all the material universes, and how he is the controller, right? And then that knowledge should give us the intelligence to surrender to Krishna, to accept the controllership of Krishna. Now, why am I repeating this time and again, controllership of Krishna? Because there are so many things that we come across day in and day out, and then we come to that point, I can do this. I am saving this. I am, protecting my family. I am protecting myself, my LIC, my other this thing. No, nothing. If the Lord's sanction is not there, none of that will work. That will all work only if the Lord's sanction is there. There was another Acharya who was telling this. We take great care to lock our house, and keep a CCTV and everything to ensure it is safe. But then, if it is the Lord's will, for whatever reasons, I mean, because of our karma or whatever, it is the Lord's will that in spite of all that, something has to be robbed from our house, then nobody can stop it. But even if we don't lock it, or even if we are just a simple lock or something, and then if the Lord decides that it has to be protected, then it is protected. Very simple kind of example it may sound, but then if we deeply understand how much how much of controllership is with Krishna, then we can really take this day in and day, every moment, not even day in and day out, every moment, how we have to always remember Krishna. And then when you remember Krishna, then remember that he's a supreme controller. And then when he is a supreme controller, then he is the master, then I am the servant. That is what these shlokas are reiterating. We go to the last shloka of the day today, shloka 17. Yeah, Prashanti Mataji, please read the 17th shloka.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Swadhishyam prapatan prano bahischa pratapastyasau evam virajam pratapam Mataji, can you scroll up? Yeah. Tapati antarbahit puman. Shall I read translation, Mataji?
Simran, anybody else wants to read the translation? Yes, Sarika Mataji, please.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his universal form, maintains everything in the creation both internally and externally. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Godhead, by expanding his universal form, maintains everything in the creation both internally and externally. Right? So, internally and externally, yes, we just finished celebrating Narasimha Chaturdasi yesterday. To Narasimha Parato Narasimha Yeto Yeto Yamita To Narasimha Bahir Narasimha Hrudaye Narasimha. It says, right? So Bahir Narasimha and Hrudaye Narasimha. The Acharyas, and the scriptures say, externally, the Lord manifests as the Guru, pure Acharya, the Guru. And internally as Paramatma, he's helping us in various ways, right? In not various ways, in all the aspects of our lives. So, like how the sun, why is this example being given? You feel the warmth and light, even though the sun is not is not able to pervade inside in a house or inside in some room, but we can still perceive the heat and light of the sun. So the same way, Krishna, as Paramatma inside, and so many ways, not just as the Guru, in so many ways he is pervading, and then he is expanded all over the universe. So much so, if we see the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna, if you see the Himalayas, then among the mountains I am Himalayas, among the Daityas I am Prahlada. He gives so much, and in the end, in the last shloka of the 10th chapter, Krishna says, but what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe, he says. With a single fragment, I'm supporting the whole universe. So it is not that the 200 form of Krishna himself is, is supporting or is maintaining or controlling this universe. It is small potency or small energy that is maintaining the whole universe, or creating the whole universe. So this is what Narada Muni is being told by Lord Brahma, how Lord Brahma is not the supreme, but Krishna is the supreme. That is how he's telling in various ways Brahma to Narada Muni, and through Narada Muni to us about the supremacy of the Lord. So, and then another aspect here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about the Tatastha Shakti. So we are all the Tatastha Shakti. What do we mean by Tatastha Shakti? Anybody
Marginal energy.
Marginal energy, Mataji.
Okay.
We
So
neither
what?
can go to spiritual world or material world.
Yeah. Now, why it is called tatastha or marginal is that, it is such a thin line, right? Now, like if you say border between India and Pakistan, right? India and Pakistan, there is a border. Now, what is this border? I mean, it is an imaginary line where nobody can even stand on it, or, kind of, okay, they would have put a barbed wire or something, but then it is nothing physical that we can measure or anything. So that is why we as Tatastha Shakti, it is very easy for us to, go on either side. Very easily we fall off. I mean, because it is such a thin line there. Srila Prabhupada very often says, spirituality is walking on a knife edge. What is a knife edge? It is like a very, very fine line. And then we keep, falling off on this material aspect. And then there are sometimes we are on the spiritual aspect. So when we are on the material aspect, even then, in the material aspect, if we can remember these aspects, Purusha Sutta is saying, if you have to see, I am the eyes, the sun and moon are my eyes, Krishna says. And then he says, I am the taste of water. Then if you have to think, if we suddenly become very bodily conscious, Krishna says, Aham Vaishvanaro. If we are eating, if that digestion has to happen, the air is inside the body, it is me, he says. And then that digesting fire that is there, that is me, Krishna says. The Jataragni in the body. So there is nothing, actually speaking, the various lectures that I was listening on this chapter, these particular shlokas, there's actually nothing material. When we use it for ourselves or for our sense gratification, then it is material. But the same matter, for instance, this laptop, I mean, Srila Prabhupada talks about the famous mic when he was dictating the translations. He says this mic or this dictaphone is matter, but now it is spiritualized because I'm using it for the service, in the service of Krishna. So in the broader aspect, there is nothing material, because again everything is coming from Krishna. But when we forget that it is coming from Krishna and we are not using it for Krishna, it becomes matter. And then when we use it in the service of Krishna, it becomes spiritual. So with that note, we can, that is how we have to kind of comprehend this. One is trying to read the shlokas and understand how everything is coming from Krishna. And then what is it that we have to, what is the value add, or what is it that I have to remember out of it? Okay, if I see the sun, then it is Krishna's eyes. If I can feel the air, then it is. If I'm eating juicy vegetables, in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the taste of whatever you're eating is coming from me. He says, okay. Okay, if we see if we see somebody's cheating, or if some cheat is there, then he says, I'm the cheater of cheats. That is also he says. So there's nothing about. And then why is it important for us to understand, to surrender or humility aspect here? Now we'll take an example like Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Krishna, to Arjuna, and then he heard it directly. And then what happened after he heard? He surrendered to Krishna and decided to fight. And then he said, Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. I'm your nashta moha smriti labdha. He says, my illusion is gone, and then I'm your servant, and then I'm your disciple, he says. The same Bhagavad Gita was heard by Dhritarashtra through Sanjaya, telling him. Then but what was the mood of Dhritarashtra? He was listening to the whole thing, and then he was, kind of concluding like, in the end, or he was thinking, or he was kind of asking Sanjay, who is going to win the war? Is it Pandavas or the Kauravas, or my sons? In the background of his thought process, he was trying to say, without saying it, he was trying to say he wanted his sons to win. So it was because he was attached to Duryodhana, and more so to Duryodhana and his sons. So the same Bhagavad Gita, even if the Lord is in front of us, or even if the Lord is telling Bhagavad Gita, and if we hear, what is it that we are wanting to hear or understand or comprehend? I'm hearing it so that I use it for my own sense gratification, or for getting what I want, or am I using it to please Krishna? Right? So even the spiritual aspects of can be can seem very mundane. So many examples. Shishupala, Duryodhana himself, he shows an universal form. He says, you're a Mayavi, you're a kind of a mistake. That is what Duryodhana tells Krishna, right? But then when he goes to Vidura's house, Vidura's wife feeds him with the banana peel, because she was so happy that the Lord came to his house. So that is how, whether it is matter or spirit, what we want to understand is what the Lord will grant for us. So if we have to get that intelligence to understand the supremacy, and then that I'm the servant, then we have to be in Bhakti Yoga. Okay, so I would just like to conclude this shloka of Shrimad Bhagwatam, but actually it is being given by in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 24, text 90 and 91. The first shloka is from Shrimad Bhagwatam. Okay, 2, 3, 10. It says, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. The translation is by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. One who is actually intelligent, although he may be a devotee free from material desires, a karmi, desiring all kinds of material facilities, or a gnani, desiring liberation, should seriously engage in Bhakti Yoga for the satisfaction of Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is text 90. 91, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes, Buddhimana arte yedi vichare gnanahaya nija kama lagi tabe krishnera bhajaya. The translation goes, the meaning of word udaradhi is buddhiman, intelligence, or considerate. Because of this, even for one's own sense gratification, one engages in devotional service of Krishna
Hare Krishna, we will wait for Mataji to join again. Just a minute, I'm calling Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji is logging in again. So we'll wait for 2 minutes for her to join back again.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Purna Nandini here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mataji.
Some issue with the net, or I don't know. Anyway, so probably the supremacy of Krishna was practically experienced now with the, it just went off. Yeah. So yeah, that is what I was wanting to conclude, that Bhakti Yoga, what is it that Bhakti Yoga does is that it helps us to keep us reminding, Bhakti Yoga is called devotional service. That is how Srila Prabhupada has given us in all the purports, devotional service. And if I have to do service, that means I have to be a servant. But now I am in the mood of wanting to be served. That is how all of us are, or at least I'm talking of myself. It feels very nice to be served. Somebody is saying, "Oh, Hare Krishna Mataji, this and that." But then when we shift from that aspect of being served to serve, that is when we are accepting the supremacy of Krishna. And it doesn't stop anywhere. I mean, it doesn't mean that among the devotees, it can be anywhere if we are ready to serve. Okay, so even in material, even though we are in the material world, we will still be spiritualized. That is how the pure devotees are. Why? What is the main difference between pure devotees and us neophyte devotees? There's never a moment that they forget that they are serving Krishna always. Okay, and that comes very easily with Bhakti Yoga. Why Bhakti Yoga? Because Prabhupada has given various things, to serve. If you are doing Mangalarti, then you take the Mangalarti for everybody, the flowers there. Then if there's prasadam, then you can serve prasadam. And then if there is a class happening, then you can offer to do service of sharing. If we are too old for all that, then there is a service of, you can do a service of helping any temple that we are there, or chanting itself, sparing time for chanting itself is a service. It's a service, and when in that service, what we are saying, Krishna, give me more service. So we may think we are old, this cannot be possible. Again, we are thinking, but if Krishna wants it to happen, then he will make it happen. So Purusha Sukta confirmed this to understand the supremacy of the Lord. So with this, I would like to close today's class. I thank all of you for bearing with me. I have shared a few thoughts, which was the mercy of my Guru Maharaj. If there is anything that has been of value to you, then it is just the mercy of the Guru Parampara, especially my Guru Maharaj. Otherwise, I seek blessings of all of you so that I can improve myself to serve you all. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful class, Mataji.
Pranam, Mataji. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Any questions, comments from the devotees? No. Okay. Hare Krishna, Mataji. We will. Yeah. Suma Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Suma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams Mataji. First of all, my apologies Mataji for not able to share. And I was thinking inside that I should step back from this seva of sharing, Mataji, because I'm not good at sharing and things like this, Mataji. So I was thinking, but the last word that you said it really helped me, Mataji. So whatever seva when we do, surrender to Krishna, and when we do it, he will help us. So I'll not have changed my mind, Mataji, and thank you so much.
Okay.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, Mataji. My question is that we are all neophytes. How can we surrender, Mataji, like to Krishna?
Neophytes. How can you just surrendered, Mataji? You decided to not share, and then you surrendered. So that is how you see. We are all like that puppets. That puppeteer. We don't see that thread. We can't see that thread. But then every action that puppet is doing is by that thread. So is done by that person who is managing those puppets. Now if we can imagine that imaginary thread from us to Krishna, okay, and every time I'm saying from the head because everything emanates from the head, starting from thinking. So if you can imagine that you are connected to Krishna always, and he is that main puppeteer there, and then we think of something or we want to do something, and then we think that he's pulling that, then for a moment just chant, at times when we are really want some clarification on how to do, then it can happen. We have to just remember. That is why always that is what is that shloka, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. If we can remember Krishna always, then that itself is surrender. Then if I remember Krishna, then I will think of Purusha Sukta, then I will think of 7.7 shloka, then I will think of 5.1 Bhoktaram Iknate Sarva Lokamayam Loka Maheshwaram. He's saying, I'm everything. Okay, wow, you are everything. You help me what I have to do. So, yeah.
Because Mataji, they say that there are 6 aspects for surrendering. So that is why we don't know about that, Mataji. So we cannot surrender
aspect?
to
No,
6
what
aspects of surrender. So I was thinking about that, Mataji.
What exactly? I mean, can you elaborate what you said? 6 aspects.
There are 6 aspects to be for us to get surrendered to Krishna. So first one is I have no idea about that, Mataji. Considering Krishna to be the only protector and helplessness and all that should be there. Those 6. I don't know, Mataji, which are those.
It's a process. It's a process. For some, it happens immediately. It's like all we living entities are like all the souls. We can put ourselves in 3 categories. One is like a dry grass, one is like wet, and one is in the water only. The dry grass, like the pure devotees, they immediately, like if you have to burn the dry grass, you have to just, a small spark and it will. So they are like the pure devotees. And wet grass is like you have to dry it and then light it, right? Now, most of us, our condition is we are in the water. You have to take out from water, then dry it, and then, light it. So this whole process of Shrimad Bhagwatam for chanting, association, service, is like, is that purificatory process, right? So the process will take us there. That is why, Utsaha Dhairyat Nishyat says we have to have the patience and it will happen. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Anukulasya
Sankalpama. All right.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Hope I answered. Hope that helped.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. We can't wait till the last, Mataji. Each and every moment we have to keep surrendering.
So that endeavor Krishna sees. See, again, I am surrendering comes there. I am surrendering. That endeavor Krishna sees, and he will help us at every moment to remember to be surrendered. Okay. Okay.
And don't worry, Suma Mataji, we are all with you only. So Whenever you will stuck, we are there to help you out.
Hare
Yeah, next
Hare
question,
Krishna.
Vandana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, very wonderful class. Mataji, you have mentioned that 9 inches Krishna expands as Shiva Daksha Vishnu. So that means he's residing in a body at 9 inches?
Yes, as Paramatma. There are two things. Actually, I have heard in one other lecture that he's in the size of the thumb also. Is 9 inches, I think, as a super soul of the universe is what is meant as the 9 inches.
Oh, okay.
So,
is in the
yeah.
material world, right?
Yeah, yes.
Because
So,
super soul is everything.
yeah, yes.
That is 9 inches.
That is 9 inches, and that he expands. In the heart, in our hearts, what I have heard is, I mean, from Acharyas, because this long back I had heard from the Acharyas, not any others. Okay, we can clarify on this. I mean, I will get a clarification and we can share this.
Okay, Mataji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
So, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. So, we'll do Vaishnav Pranam and end the session by your permission. Yeah, Mataji.
Vancha
Sindhu
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Ananta Vaishnaviki Jai Shri
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat
Jai.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hari Bol,
Pranam.
Hare Krishna. We will meet on Monday, 9:30. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Wonderful session. Dandavat Pranams.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Shall I end the session, Mataji?